Personal trainers who've never been fat themselves, they don't know what they don't know. And I'm going to share my experience to explain why I think that they are failing plus size beginners like me. Hopefully, this can help you in your journey when and if you feel ready to take on and work with a personal trainer. I've met plenty of personal trainers at all the different gyms I've gone to on and off throughout the years. Normally because they'll show you how to use the exercise machines once you buy a membership. And that's just one session, not like a program that you've entered. But the first time I signed up for a personal training program where I met the same trainer for 10 times, it didn't turn out so well. That first personal trainer was a perky young woman, lots of energy, really kind, petite but strong. And I just didn't know if she could help me, because what does she know about training someone like me? But then again, she might have lots of experience. I don't know. So I did some inquiry. What are her certifications? What's her experience? And it turns out that she had taken a 2-year program in Australia to become a personal trainer. Now, for comparison, in America, you can get a personal trainer certificate in 3 to 6 months. And I think that's the norm. That's normal to do that. So she really has a proper training, 2 years. And she'd worked for a number of years. And she instilled confidence in me that she could work with me and she could help me. So I was excited and wanted to start. And if you don't know, at the beginning of these programs, after maybe sitting down and talking about goals and stuff like that, there'll be a session where you take measurements. Now, taking measurements can be daunting for anyone, maybe especially for people like me. And she was actually handling it really well. I felt it felt fine. It was okay. We're doing all the things, and then she had a measuring tape to measure around. And they want to do this because then you can see a before and after, and you can measure in more ways than the scale, which is a good thing, right? But as she was measuring, she's standing in front of me, reaching around with the tape measure to measure. And when she came to my butt area, she dropped it. She dropped it because the measuring tape was too small. Or as my brain was screaming to me, I was too fat. Now, as you can realize, that stung bad. And it still does. This experience it's going to be with me for the rest of my life. And she was really sorry and, really apologetic, and we moved on pretty quick after that. But had she even put, one brain power into thinking how it would be like to be in my shoes, that would never have happened. Never. And she just didn't realize. Because she's never been like me. She doesn't know. And I think that's one of the major reasons why personal trainers fail working with plus size beginners. Because they don't know what they don't know. They don't realize. And when it comes to our bodies, we are sensitive, and everyone is. So if something that, potentially is a small problem, it feels big and it hurts a lot, and it can get you so negative to the whole experience and never want to come back. And that's the fail, right? If the person they're training doesn't want to come back to the gym, that's a problem. My second experience was with a personal trainer who's online. And so the whole program was online, and my hope was to find someone who had more experience and hopefully have a better experience myself. I found a guy this time, and I reached out to him in December, and he started this whole program thing in January. So before I even started, we had an email conversation where I asked very specific questions about his experience working with women or people like me. And I sent him my exact measurements, which was a huge step for me. Have you worked with someone like me? I am this height, I weigh this much. And he was so confident. He's worked with all kinds of people. He's been a personal trainer for 10 years. And I bought it. I was like, okay, you seem to know what you're doing. I'll buy into the program. Pretty quick, I realized it didn't feel very professional. One of the things is that I signed up in December, but I barely got any information until January 13th or something, which was a Monday, and I get he starts on a Monday. But he didn't send out the information until like 2 days before. And I had emailed him again to ask, okay, when do we start? And there was a food program as well. And so I'm like, well, maybe you should send that out before so we can buy the food, so we can look at the recipes and prepare. And everything was sort of a bit chaotic and late. So already there, it's like, okay, that's probably a signal this is not going to be that great. And then I get the whole food program, and then I get the training program. And he recommended that I do, well, not recommended, the program stated that I should do a circuit. That's when you do an exercise for a certain set of time, and then you move on to the next. I think it's like 30 seconds or something. Do this exercise for 30 seconds, rest for 20 seconds, do the next exercise for 30 seconds, and so on. The problem was every other exercise was on the floor. Now, if you've ever worked with an obese person, you know that it takes the 20 seconds that was rest time to just get up off the floor or get down on the floor. There was no rest. That was the whole thing. And I was, I don't know, too kind or naive. So I emailed back and forth, and I'm like, I can't do this. I didn't realize that was a signal of his inexperience working with people like me. I do now. If that would happen again, I would be like, cancel all my money back. You don't know whatever the hell you're talking about. Like, no. But at that point, I just went with it. And so tried to email back and forth, tried to get, other exercises to do, other things to do. And yeah, sure, he sort of adapted it a little bit, but it was just so clear that he was full of bullshit when he said that he'd worked with people like me and he'd done this for 10 years. And, maybe he had and no one had told him, but I don't think so. I think that he has never worked with someone like me, and he didn't read my emails, and he didn't care. He thought everything would be fine. It'd be like working with all of his other clients, which it's not. It's not the same when you work with someone like me, because I can't get off the floor and I can't get down on the floor easily. And if I try to get up too fast, or if I do it without holding on to something, I could hurt my knees. Like, it's... If you were to take a beginner who's with a, normal BMI or something, like someone who's more fit in general, and you put them on a weight that I'm carrying into like a backpack or like weights on their arms or something, and then tell them to do the same exercises, you would never do that. That's dangerous. You very seriously prone to injury, and also just you wouldn't do that because the person would feel so terrible doing those exercises. They would never come back. And I think that's why personal trainers fail. They don't know. And it just becomes a mess, and it's no fun, and people quit. I haven't sworn off personal trainers. I actually booked another 4 sessions with one just recently, and I had the first one last week. And those sessions I call tune-up sessions, because I've already learned how to do these exercises. I just want to check in to make sure I'm doing them correctly so that I can push more when I do them without worrying. And in that sense, it was fine. It was, she gave me some pointers, but mainly I was already doing it quite well. And yet, when we looked at the other exercise, because the deadlift was the one that I got it down and I knew how to do it. We looked at squats, and I was doing goblet squats when you hold a weight in front of you. She asked if I wanted to try with a barbell. And I was like, well, she's here. I might as well learn how to do it. And she was showing me how to hold it on my back. And then I tried a few times and I felt pain in my knees. And she was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I get that, because when you hold it on your back, you have to lean more forward, which puts more pressure on your knees. And so that didn't work out. That's a give and take you have to have with your personal trainer. You have to tell them what it feels like, and most of them are not going to know because they're not you. So I get that. You have to communicate and find a solution. What I don't get is when I posted it online and one of you guys told me, well, you could have it in front. You could do front squats where you have the barbell like up here by your chest. And what I don't get is, why didn't she tell me that? She's the personal trainer. right? You'd think that she might suggest that while I was doing it and, paying her all this money to, yeah. So this idea that a personal trainer is this, expert that knows everything and tells you everything and gives you the best advice, I think you should squash that and realize they're just human. And unless they're really experienced and actually have worked with obese people or have been fat themselves, they don't know. So if you choose to work with someone like that, a lot of communication is needed if it's going to work. I'm sure a lot of you have also had experiences working with personal trainers, both good and bad. I'm happy if you were to share them. Hopefully that can help if any personal trainer finds this video and they can learn as well how to become better at what they do and help us prepare for when we decide if and when to work with a personal trainer. Thank you for listening. Hopefully this was helpful. And if I can do this, you can too. I'll see you at the gym.